Well, super excited for another episode of Business Huddle. My name is Marty McTeague with Skull Marketing, and we're super excited to have Christi with Elemental Studio. And she's going to be talking a little bit about branding and that side of things, something that we are really passionate about, making sure that that's an established thing and is so beneficial for the marketing side when we get into digital and all that side of things, which is going to be a really fun discussion. So, wanted to kind of kick things off and hand things over to Christi to share a little bit about your background, share a little bit about your company as you got started, and kind of we'll dive into a further discussion about where things have kind of evolved over the years, the importance of establishing that brand, and where things are at today, if there's anything that has shifted or changed throughout. So yeah.
Great. Yeah. Thanks, Marty, for having me.
Absolutely.
I'm Christi Williford with Elemental Studio based here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I started out my career on the West Coast, actually. When I graduated from college, I moved out to San Francisco with two of my classmates and during the dot-com boom, which I'm not going to tell you how old that makes me. But there was a lot of work, and I got sunk my teeth into branding because of there were just so many small companies that were trying to launch and make it big. And so there were many times I could create a logo and a brand for someone. And it was just a lot of fun and a lot of practice. So then when I got a little more serious about what I wanted to do, I started working for companies and corporations and ended up moving to Seattle, where I worked for larger companies. I worked for Microsoft for a while and started learning about digital marketing and website design. But all along, I think because I got my start learning how to do things bootstrappy from the dot-com boom, I always had my own clients on the side. So throughout my whole career, I've always had my own clients. So I sort of have always had my own company in that way. So yeah, I would say my largest corporate client was when I freelanced for Airborne Express, which was a shipping company in Seattle. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
No, not yet. No.
We were actually working on their corporate rebrand.
Sure.
So that was where I really learned the ins and outs of what a rebrand is like at the corporate level.
Mm-hmm.
And right before we were able to actually roll it out, the executives came downstairs to us and said, "Guess what? We're getting bought out by DHL. So this rebrand you've been working on will never come to light." So so from all of that, my husband and I ended up having our kids and deciding to move out west or out back east here.
Yeah.
And I ended up really diving into my own creating my own business because I saw what was missing with the small business people, which was based on what I learned in school, which is no strategy for graphic designers. And what I saw in corporate branding, that there's no middle ground for graphic designers wanting to have their own business. So I decided to create what I call the Elemental Method, which is bringing the strategy and the design together.
Sure.
So it's basically building brands from the inside out.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of what I do now.
That's awesome. And honestly, that, I feel like that's kind of a lead into like how you defined branding to business leaders. I guess like talking about, like a brand, and when you talk to a new company or are thinking about, hey, what, you might have a logo that you created years ago, but did you really think about it? And did you really, have a plan for who's your ideal client or any of those things? So I guess talk a little bit about, that philosophy, because I think it's really interesting. And I know we've talked about this before, but I'm curious on that side.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. And at the beginning of having my own business and starting out, I, just like any designer, I would maybe ask a few questions to a client and ask what their favorite colors were and give them a couple of color palettes to choose from, give them some logo ideas to choose from, and that was it. It was very surface level. And then I realized down the road that it just needed to be something deeper. And a lot of that was based on what I learned from the corporate level clients. So that's where we developed a deeper strategy, deeper questions. And so this is where the elemental method is what I compare to an oak tree. So I compare your brand and cue the oak tree.
Yeah, for the listeners, we're
For the
showing a
listeners out
picture.
there.
For the visual
so-
side, go to YouTube and check it out. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
So we compare your brand to an oak tree. So a brand is like an ecosystem. So that means that everything is connected. So if your roots are strong and deep, then your trunk is sturdy. Then your branches will be aligned and they will be easy for people to reach. So your brand is the same way. So when you work with me, we start with the roots, which is, what is your story? Who are you trying to talk to? Why are you in the business you were in? And, what's the point?
Yeah.
It's all about your purpose and all of that. And it's around the language and it's around the colors, and everything. It's not just the colors you like, but it's the psychology of color. Everything has meaning. So once we answer those questions, that's when we get to the trunk part, which is combining the visual and the the visual and the verbal into this brand strategy and brand guidelines to then be able to do the rest that's in the branches. That is what the public sees. So that's where the logo, that's where the website, that's where the marketing comes in. That's where the fun stuff comes in that everyone sees in the public.
Yeah. It's I mean, that it's so funny because obviously years and years of, like, we are involved with brand implementation is kind of where we sit in, and in many ways when we're talking to customers, some of our clients that have happened for years, they come to us and the ones that come to us and say, I work with anyone or things like that, it's always like a very clear note of, all right, we don't know where we're going with this, and we need to extrapolate a lot more out of this to really understand. And I think that's where really branding, that's the key piece that you're talking about, the roots. It's so important because without that, I mean, it's hard for us to focus our energy from a digital marketing strategy and getting the ads or the social media, whatever it is,
Right.
to focus on the right things, because there's no clear focus. To that point, though, some businesses maybe don't know that yet.
Right.
So I guess, like, what in your mind, when is the right time? And it might be multiple times, but when is the right time to kind of focus on the branding side versus maybe some of the tactical side?
There are 3 points that I advise businesses to either rebrand or brand. And one of them is when you are growing. Like, when I have a visual of a fish that is in too small of a fishbowl, is when your insides have outgrown your outsides. So maybe you were a startup when you first started. Maybe your kid designed your logo on your website, but now you've gotten some clients under your belt. You've grown, and now you need to get serious because that website is not doing it for you. It's not as robust as you need. So then you really need to call in the people that know what they're doing, and you just need to grow. So that is one way to get back to the basic, or get back to your roots. Okay, figure out, okay, who am I? Where do I want to go? Who am I targeting? All of those root questions are really important to get you to that next level. The second one is, if you are, if you've acquired another business, or if you're merging with another business, you and your partner need to get together and get on the same page. That's really important. And then the third one is any new service that you want to introduce.
Sure.
And a fourth one, I would say, if you just need a refresh, like maybe your clients are maybe you're tired of your brand and you just need a refresh. So that's another one.
Well, and maybe you're tired of your clients too. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I
right.
mean? There is an element of there is a time where you get. I was just having a conversation with somebody about this, where sometimes you start to realize clients that align with you and other clients that you know they still need the service and they might be really good for other types of companies, but they might not be as suited for your type of business. And
Right.
there's lots of reasons that can come into play. They might need more focus, and maybe you don't have the opportunity to give them that focus, or
Exactly.
or the other way, you're giving them a lot, but they don't have enough time to meet with you regularly, or things of that nature.
Right.
So that stuff can come into play, and I think that's it can happen at any time for
Yeah,
sure.
and that you bring up good point. The language piece is just as important as the visual. So, creating those sound bites that you need to reach those exact people, and for those people to know that who you are and who you are not. So you don't just get people that are wasting your time or you're wasting their time.
Right. And I think most businesses know, like, you might have a niche or you might have a focus, and you're going to have some that are not in that, and in some way or another. But the majority, you want that, because that's, if you find that those are the types of clients that you're going to be most successful with, um, that then it'll likely help your business grow further because of that.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I'm curious, you know, you when we were talking at the beginning as well, you were talking about an example, client or project, or something of that nature. Would love to learn more about kind of what you were thinking in that space, and um, just how, what you helped them do, kind of helped them get to that next level or grow, or the impact that brand strategy and implementation had for them.
Yes, I have a tax accountant client. It's two partners, Hines and Clark. They're here in the Twin Cities. This was a few years ago. They came to me because they were changing their services. They no longer wanted to just be your yearly tax accountant. They wanted to specialize because some of the clients they were getting were pretty specialized, and they just wanted to be able to provide those services and be really niche. So the pillars they came up with were strategic tax accountants. So, not just meet with the business, and for business owners, not just personal. And they didn't want to meet with you once a year. They wanted to meet with you quarterly. So it was business owners, development people, and expats. I think they
Hmm.
were Australian expats.
Sure.
Um, so they really needed to figure out how to portray this in their website and their marketing. So we had to go back to basics. We went to their roots and talked about how we were going to structure this. And another thing we did in the roots section is we did a client audit. And I do highly recommend doing a client audit, because your clients won't always tell you to your face what they feel,
Mhm.
but if they will tell a third party. So, one of the most important things that came out of the client audit was the communication breakdown. So, having that knowledge really not only affected their brand, but affected their whole business.
Mhm.
So, that really changed the way they structured their business and their brand, but really how they treated their clients. And it really created momentum in their growth and just everything.
Yeah.
So they were able to grow exponentially in the immediately after the rebrand, and for the next, you know, 1 to 3 years, and continually now.
Yeah, I mean, that piece alone, the, client feedback, the customer profile, and understanding real examples versus, the what you think as a business owner, or, what they've shared with you. That's such a great insight to that. Can be not only impactful for, this ideal target, and, that this is my ideal client, that side of things. But at the same point, what do we need to hone in with our processes, and, should we really bake this stuff in, and help us understand what changes we need to make?
Yeah,
Maybe it's, these things are great, or maybe you learn some things that could be improved in that way.
yeah,
Interesting.
for
That's really
sure.
cool. What do you think, like, happens when branding and marketing aren't aligned?
That's a great question. What happens when branding and marketing are not aligned is you waste your money, to be honest. Because if you don't have your story straight, then what you're putting out there is mixed messaging. Clients get confused, and you don't get the bang for your buck.
Hmm.
Um, so what I would recommend is get your story straight first. Do the deep work and take the time. It may seem cumbersome at first. It's sort of like it is a little bit of therapy because you are having to like dig deep and really think about things you don't really think about or think, oh, yeah, I'm in business, but those things are important and you reap the benefits later when you see the results in your brand. You want to have something that you're proud of and that because it's a launching pad, a brand that you're proud of that you can relate to is a launching pad for your marketing and all the tactics that come with it because it's going to fuel you that much forward into reaching those people that you want a lot faster.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it makes a lot of sense because if we're doing a marketing campaign and it's to anyone or all types of people or things like that. Like if you're, for example, let's say you're a remodeling contractor or something like that. You might find that your ideal client is actually like smaller houses because they are like it's a young family that's trying to grow that house to fit their new family as they continue growing or something of that nature. Or you might say, I just want to work in the, higher end type builds and be in that space because there's a lot of work in there and I can keep my trucks there for a long time. But having those thoughts and conversations allows your marketing effort to focus on that specific area or those zip codes or whatever it is so that you're not wasting your money going after or getting leads that you're going to maybe not be a good fit for or you're going to spend a lot more time on that you know they're going to see the price and you're not a right fit for it
Right.
in that way,
Right.
right?
And you're not talking to them. They want to see how you can solve their problem.
Right.
And when you're not solving their problem, but someone else's, they're just going to throw it in the trash or look away.
Right. Yeah, interesting. That's great. I'm curious about some of the trends that you're seeing. I know um AI obviously is like a big topic in a lot of ways, but I'm just curious about trends that you're starting to see in the branding space. And I have some nuggets that I'm started seeing in the branding space as well, somewhat PR related, but just
Yeah.
curious, what you've been seeing and any insights on that.
Yeah. What I've noticed, particularly on LinkedIn in the branding space, is more authenticity. Because of AI and because you can tell when people have used AI when they're writing, and I've seen people get back to the basics, and it's thought leadership. It's less gimmicky posts. It's just authenticity and clearer purposes. Is what
Yeah,
I've seen.
that is definitely true. And I think the thing that's to be clear is the authenticity is the stuff that's working or showing more credibility versus the fluff that's out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot
Yeah.
more of the fluff,
Right.
and as you mentioned, it's clear if I see an emoji or an M dash or things like that, I'm judging almost
Right,
immediately,
exactly,
even though
especially
you
if you've
might be
used it,
writing that way.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. Well, and
Uh,
now you know how to not write, and, it really just
yeah.
makes just like anything that comes around, it makes the authenticity more refreshing, the
Yeah.
truth more refreshing, anything that's handwritten more refreshing, all of that is
Right.
just gonna be even better.
Yeah, and honestly, like, I mean, there's a reason we are doing a podcast right now. Part of that is this is authentic, right? Like, this is
Yes,
very
yes.
much the real thing. It's not us. Maybe we are robots. I don't know, actually, actually, but yeah. But in all honesty, like this is us talking truly about what we have. We might have notes, but we're this is true, this is us, this is real, right? And
Yeah.
and that's something you can't really get, from an AI bot. We might have something that's outlined from GPT or
Right.
something of that nature, but the outline is what helps us get to the point of this clarity in this conversation, and I think that's
Yes.
it's helping those processes maybe.
Yeah. And I just want to say that's why, even more importantly, with branding, you have to start with the roots and get your authenticity there.
Mhm,
And then if you do end up using Chat GPT or whatever, any
mhm,
kind of AI, you still have that core story of who you are and how you're different that you can use to create that. It's not you trying to start from scratch using AI.
mhm.
You have that nugget and maybe you help that can help you refine it, but it's not replacing your story.
Yeah, no, that's very true. Do you um, have any advice for like maintaining the brand, consistency or clarity across all the different channels? I think that's something that, like, as a one thing that happens as a business owner, and or as you continue growing is, and this is something that happens all the time, is businesses start to have new employees or like salespeople or things like that, and they have used this technique in the other place and found success with it. But it's not on brand, and
Mm.
it doesn't match the tone that we're looking for, the types of clients. How do we kind of maintain that, not just from a company standpoint, but like really, your company is each individual, you know, that works there as well. Like
Mhm.
they may be posting as skull marketing in that way, you know what I mean? And how do we maintain that message and brand consistency?
Yeah, so part of, the branding process that I do is in the language portion, we create a brand story, and, so in the end result is having that brand story and, creating different versions of it for social media or any of those digital marketing aspects, and, just creating slightly different voices for depending on what platform you're using, um, and maybe going back and looking at the brand story every 6 months or so just
Mhm.
to make sure nothing's changed, but just staying consistent with that brand story no matter what,
Yeah.
and making sure everybody is aware of it and everybody's using it consistently, so that, no one is veering off of it.
Yeah,
That would be my advice.
for sure. Um, Kind of bring it back to something that's, I think, a trend with today, and you may be aware of this. But one thing we're seeing from a GEO or AI search standpoint, that we're starting to see some success with clients in is the PR side of things having some success as well. And some of that is really just like um the AI LLMs, they're starting to take notice first of, uh, you know, articles and things like that that are on high authority sites that might be like it's a CBS article or, a larger, media type article that's
Mhm.
out there. And those are the ones that are typically referenced. Sure, they're looking at websites, they're looking at other things, and, SEO does have an impact on some of that stuff as well. But we're starting to see sort of a refresh of like, the brand strategy towards getting your name out there on some of these, um, you know, larger type things where I think there was kind of it was a back burner thing for some companies, but it's seeing a resurgence, and I don't know if you've seen that at all, but that's
Hmm.
something that we're starting to see as something that's beneficial for people to start targeting, which is a really unique space, and something that we're keeping an eye on and starting to recommend the things that you control, as well as like
Yeah.
we can have a strategy behind this from a AI search standpoint, and be a little bit more targeted with our focus in that area.
That is something I don't know as much about, so
Sure.
I would be curious to learn. more from you guys about that.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
interesting.
Happy to dive in
Yeah,
deeper, but it is, it's kind of like that realm where, it's that uh, additional like further level as well of your brand doesn't stop, right? like
right,
like that's where the company takes it and is continuing to voice that brand, right?
right. Yeah,
And trying to keep it out there. So what's some advice that you would say, whether it's, something to if it's working with somebody like yourself,
yeah,
this obviously may be somebody like that could find you, that'd be great. But it also could be just like we all know sometimes it's setting people up for success to know that
right.
future use of you is beneficial as well.
Yeah. Oh, so I would say if you're just starting out and you are on a budget, the way we work for the brand strategy part of the tree of the roots, that I would say absolutely you should do for any business. And then whether or not you're ready to do everything in the branches, that can be customizable.
Mhm.
So say you're on you just can afford to do the roots, that's going to get you up and running and started. And then doing a simple logo and a simple website can just get you going for the first year or so.
Yeah. No,
But we
that's
can always come back and relook at the rest of the branches
yeah,
or, if you grow more branches or grow more trees,
right.
but the roots are something that you should not skip.
Yeah. No, I mean, the things that you kind of mentioned too that you get into, um, those pieces when you think about a business that might be going to a networking event or something like that as somebody who's starting out, I mean, that's a huge piece that you need to do as a small business owner,
Yeah.
right? If you're starting things out, you got to get out there and talk to people.
Yeah.
And if you're talking to people and you have no agenda or focus, it can be really hard to, you know, start pushing the needle, right?
Right. And some of the things I didn't cover yet that come out of this brand strategy, the roots, are your tagline,
Mhm.
your sound bites for when you're out networking, what to say, an
Yeah.
elevator speech, um, what I call a brand statement, which isn't your mission statement, but we do cover that. But it's your internal mantra. It's your reason to be in business in the first place.
Mhm.
And then we do a mission statement, or as I like to call it, a more of a marketing statement that you can stick on your webpage if you end up doing your own webpage.
Yeah.
So all of those are great language pieces that you can hit the ground running with.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I
Love that.
want to share that a book that I recently picked up again because he wrote a revised version of it is Building a Strong Brand, or sorry, Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. Have you ever read that? Or
Mm-mm.
um, he's pretty well known, and the way he approaches branding is in that he it's well his background is writing, and so he approaches it as writing a script for your brand story, and so he says that instead of portraying your client as a no, instead of portraying yourself as a hero to your client, you should portray yourself as the guide. So you're like the Obi-Wan Kenobi for your client. And so that has always stuck with me. That's how I try to be. I try to be the guide for your client, and that's how I try to teach my clients to be. You
Mhm.
want to be the guide and let your client be the hero so that
Mhm.
you can come and give them the right tools so they can be the hero.
Yeah.
So,
Uh, That ties into, I mean, I just like, as somebody I'm very involved in the operation side of our business and that side of things. And, um, that like even bleeds into that piece of like, something I think we've realized over the years is like the more, and this is just not only our experience with clients, but also experience with other resources is, we also want to be guided. You know what I mean? If
yeah,
you're hiring somebody to do something, you often don't know what to do, and that's why you're hiring them, or you are hiring them because you feel as if they are the expert, right?
right.
And so you want to be led in that way and guided through the process, um and yeah, be made the hero, I guess, in the end. That's awesome.
Right. Yeah.
um yeah, what like on top of that, are there any like fun podcasts or things, like it could be in the branding world or personally fun things
Personal
that
fi
you love listening to, or
you know, one I was just listening to yesterday is the, Amy Poehler one, good hang.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was an episode with Carol Burnett. It was
Oh my
both
gosh.
funny and heartwarming at the same time. So I guess that's not really brand related, but
No,
it's good
that's perfect. No,
storytelling.
that's a great, I mean, it is, yeah, I think it won the first ever
That's
best
right.
podcast of the year award. So, it is a great, I find myself actually watching it on YouTube, and it's funny to watch podcasts on YouTube as this one is.
Right.
But it is something I end up doing often. So that's super awesome. What helps you recharge outside of work?
Mm. I like to lift heavy weights.
Nice.
That helps me, and singing.
Yeah.
I recently, not officially joined a choir, but I have joined into a choir a couple of times, and it's exhilarating. So
Awesome.
say those two things.
So are you so next time we have you on, you'll have a show coming up in the choir.
Maybe. Maybe when
Will
my
be
my second son graduates, and
there
I'll
you
have
go.
more time.
Awesome. Well, any last notes that you would have for our listeners?
I would just say my last advice would just to be get your story straight before you do any marketing.
Yeah.
Before you do anything, get your story straight.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Christy. It's
Thanks
been
for
so
having
fun.
me. It was so
Yeah.
much fun.
Yeah. We'll have another episode coming up, but super grateful to have you on. And again, the contact information will be in the description and all that. So feel free to reach out. I know she will be great to work with. Thank you, Christy.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.